now. All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the July 2021 Be Strong Talk. And we've got another special guest for you this evening. And but before we talk a little bit about this, I would like to introduce the idea man behind our monthly Be Strong Talks, Mr. Archie Leidy. Tell us about Be Strong and what it means, please.
Yeah, thanks, Jay. I appreciate you hosting this. First of all, thank you, everybody, for being in attendance. The purpose of this, the whole Be Strong movement, so to speak, is to go ahead and try to demonstrate and articulate to people out there that might be struggling how others have achieved where they're currently at. How they got there, how they were strong. I'm not an expert, or I've never had a drug addiction, although I've had other addictions, so I don't know what it's like. I can't pretend to sit here and tell you what it feels like to have an addiction or to go through a lot of things that people unfortunately struggle with when they have a drug addiction. What I can tell you after 24 years of law enforcement experience is that I've come to learn a lot about people. Generally speaking, most people are good people, and unfortunately, when it comes to getting addicted to drugs, what I've seen, and again, this is just in my humble observation, I've seen that there to be three components of drug addiction. The first one is the body screaming for the drug. So there's that physical side of it. The second one is the mental aspect of it, where the mind is saying, hey, this is what I need. And then the third one is the choice. And again, humbly, that's been my observations. So a while back, in talking with other people that have gone through these different types of battles, we talked about if we could get the mind and we can get the body under control, well, how do we do that? There's some type of medical treatment that we could do through other medications. Some people are just strong enough to will themselves off, but others actually find a way to get their choice to overrun everything, and that is overrun their mental desire for the drug as well as their physical desire. And some of that choice gets cemented in by different things that we do. Sometimes it might be working out, just getting into a workout routine. Sometimes it's getting a break and getting a job. Sometimes it's drug court. For some people, it's gardening. For some people, it's painting. For some people, it's writing music. Whatever it is that helps you be strong is what we are encouraging people that are strong, that have gotten to a point of strength, to help us so we can help others. So all this is just real people coming together, telling us what their stories are to help them be strong. And hopefully we can pass that. We can pass whatever it is that helps them strong. Maybe it'll be something for you that you could go ahead and say, hey, Zach is doing this. That sounds good. Maybe I'll do this and maybe it'll help. So that's the whole concept behind Be Strong. We want everybody to be strong and try to find out what it is that helps them be strong. So that's pretty much it. And thank you very much for being here tonight, Zach.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for that, Archie. Archie, just for everybody, so everybody knows, is one of the founding members of the nonprofit Grace Roots that is putting on these monthly talks. And these monthly talks, like Archie, fortunately, my only chemical addiction is caffeine, and so I can't directly relate to many of these monthly stories, but these monthly stories have really helped me personally, and I think many of the people that have watched these monthly stories understand how important our mission really is, and that is a mission to help people in recovery get to recovery and stay strong in recovery. And so, and we have a particular focus on opiate addictions, but there's certainly other things that go with that, as we've heard from our monthly guests. So without further ado, For the July 2021, our special guest is Zack Privett. And Zack, please tell us your personal Be Strong story, and then we'll have an opportunity after your story for some back and forth. So take it away, Zack.
All right. First, I just want to start off by saying thank you guys for having me on. I'm honored and blessed to be able to do this. So my story starts out like this. So when my mom was pregnant with me, she did heroin throughout her whole not heroin, but meth throughout her whole pregnancy with me. So, I mean, I was born an addict, you know. My childhood wasn't very good. So my mom and dad split up probably when I was like 6 or 7. And so there was 5 of us kids. My older sister was like 10 years older than me. So she was pretty much out on her own at like 16 or 17. So my mom still had 4 other kids, and she would like take us to her friends' house or people that she had just met, and drop us off there, you know, with some complete strangers to us and sometimes strangers to her. And there would be times that we would be at these people's houses for, you know, months on end before our mom would come back. And usually she would like pop in and out like once every couple of weeks, probably to drop off drugs or something to the people that were watching us, you know, to make them a little happier. And she would just bail again. And so eventually we got taken into state custody and went into foster care. The first time that we did, the 4 of us kids were able to stay together. We were very fortunate to be with a really good foster family, and they took all 4 of us in, and we were with them for a couple years. And then we went back to my mom, and it was only a matter of a few months before we were back in the state's custody. And the way it happened the second time was one of our neighbors had noticed that our mom hadn't seen our mom around for a couple months, and she hadn't been, and come to find out she had been in jail, and that's why she hadn't been around, and we hadn't seen her or heard from her. But unfortunately for us kids, like us growing up, you know, that was normal for us to not see her, so we didn't think anything of it. We didn't think that there was anything wrong with it. We were just glad to be at our house and not at some stranger's house, you know, with people that we didn't know, and people that, you know, that were mean and didn't treat us very well. But one of the neighbors' parents had noticed, and so we went back into foster care again. And this time we had gotten split up, and I ended up on my own, and my twin brother and sister were together, and then my older brother was on his own. And I ended up going back to the first foster family that we had stayed with originally. And, you know, of course, at that time, as a child, like, I fought against them, even though, like, I was very fortunate to be with that family because, you know, they treated me like their own family. I wasn't ever introduced as a foster kid or their foster brother. I was always introduced as their kid and their brother, and they treated me like their own. But at that age and where I was at, you know, I fought against it because I felt like they were trying to take the place of my family. And so I fought against them, you know, and it made things a little difficult for myself, and I could only imagine how difficult it made it for them, you know. So eventually I ended up going and staying with my grandma for a little bit, and then I ended up running away from there, and my mom was down here in Grants Pass, and I came down where my mom was at, and was with her, and I got picked up a couple times by the cops and put into the halfway, or the juvenile center over there off of 4th Street, and I ended up running both times. And so the second time, the state finally just said, well, you're old enough, obviously you can take care of yourself if you made it, you know, halfway across the state to be with your mom, and you broke out of this juvenile center 2 times. You're obviously old enough to be able to take care of yourself. And so they gave custody back to my mom of me. And then a few months later, my little brother and sister came home, And my older brother had already been with my mom, and then my older sister ended up coming down. And at this point, when we had gotten back with my mom, she had been clean. She had over a year clean. She had her own. She had just finished going to school at Pagan, started her own business, and then in 2001, my older sister got in a car accident and died. And my mom didn't know how to handle that, and she fell right back into her addiction, and that put us kids back in a pretty shitty situation, because we lost our house and we didn't have anywhere to live. So I was staying with a friend for like a month, and I ended up moving up to Lebanon with some friends of mine. And I just kind of, over the next few years, I kind of bounced back and forth until I was 17. And when I was 17, I moved back to Grants Pass because my little brother, my little sister, my mom, and my older brother were all using meth at that time. And I thought that I could come down and help them. And, at the age of 17, obviously not being an addict myself at that point yet, I didn't understand addiction, and I thought I could help them. And when I found out that I couldn't, I ended up getting pretty upset with them. And I left Grants Pass, and I didn't talk to any of my family for about 2 or 3 years. And then I kind of started talking to them again, and then it was about the age of 21. One of my best friends had passed away. I had a couple other pretty harsh deaths in my life, and I had a lot of stuff at that age happened in my life. So I had custody of my sister's kid for a couple years, and I ended up having to give her back to the state because they had somebody that was going to adopt her. And so all this negative stuff happening to me got to me, and that's when my pill addiction had started. And that's where my opiate addiction started out, was with pills. And I instantly right away knew that I was addicted to the pills, and I knew why I was addicted to them, because I didn't have to deal with my emotions. It numbed all my emotions and feelings. I even ended up calling up all my family members and apologizing to them for when I took that leave of absence in their life and stepped away, because now I had a better understanding of addiction. And I just continued to use, but I was able to be a functioning addict for a couple of years. I had a job working at Les Schwab's, and I worked there for 10 years. And towards the end of my addiction, or towards the end of my working there, it was my addiction that made me lose my job. And so I ended up getting fired from Les Schwab's. And at that point in my life, I had isolated myself from my friends and family there in Lebanon where I was living. And I didn't feel like I had anybody to talk to or anything. And so I moved back to Grants Pass, where all my immediate family was at, and moved in with my little brother, thinking maybe I could get some help down here. But my little brother was addicted to pills too. And so that didn't help at all with my pill addiction, it just got even further. And one day when I couldn't get any pills, a buddy of mine that I bought my pills from did heroin, and I asked him about the heroin, and he ended up selling me some, and that's when my heroin addiction started. That first time doing heroin, I thought to myself, like, wow, I've been wasting money on all these pills. I could have been doing heroin this whole time. It's easier to get, it's cheaper, and so a couple months into my heroin addiction, I ended up quitting my job, and I started selling heroin. And by this point, I started doing meth as well, because the reason why I started doing the meth is a couple reasons. One was because when I wasn't able to get heroin, it made me feel better. And also, you know, now at this point that I was selling heroin, I was able to stay up for days on end and be able to cater to people's needs a little bit better because, you know, I was up for more hours. And that started a whole nother addiction in itself, you know, the selling of the drugs. I was addicted to the money of it. And a couple years into my addiction, I ended up a place I was living at ended up getting raided by the cops, and I caught my first drug charges. And I went to jail for like 36 days, and I got out, and I didn't go to any more of my court dates. So I had a warrant out for my arrest, and I ended up absconding for I think it was almost 4 years before I had finally gotten arrested. And in those 4 years, I lived at the same house, and I did the same thing day in and day out. And that was isolate in my bedroom where I was living at with the girl I was with at the time. And if I wasn't isolating in there, I was selling drugs to people, going to meet people and sell drugs to them. I didn't do anything else with my life. My life consisted solely on the getting and using, the buying and selling of drugs. And that was literally all I did. And after about 4 years, I got pulled over with somebody I was with, and they ran my name. Well, first they ran my brother's name because I gave her my brother's name because I knew he didn't have warrants and stuff. And they ended up catching me and finding out who I was. And of course, had warrants out for my arrest and went to jail, and I was offered drug court. I had no idea what drug court was. They had come in and talked to me and told me about it, and I was still withdrawing and stuff. And my main objective at that point was to get out of jail and get well. So I opted into drug court, and I got out of jail. And one of the mentors that picked me up, they took me to Choices. I did my intake and met up with my counselor. Then they went and dropped me off at my POs. I met up with my PO, talked to her, and I left, and I went right back to doing what I was doing before. Went right back to doing heroin and meth and selling heroin and meth and isolating again. And I got away with that for about a year before I got arrested again. And luckily, this last time when I got arrested, I was, after so many years of being in my addiction and doing the same thing, staying up for so many days that when I finally fell asleep, it was because my body was so wore out. Like I couldn't take it anymore, and I'd fall asleep in the most random places and the awkward positions. And, I'd be, for the years prior to that, like I said, it was the same thing. I'd stay up for 3 to 4 days at a time, sleep for 12 to 18 hours, and wake up and do it again. And finally, when I got arrested that last time, like I was ready for a change. I wanted something different. And I thought about doing something different with my life, but as an addict, it's hard to take those steps to do it yourself. And also there's the fear of detoxing. And then knowing that I was a felon, I didn't think that there was going to be any job opportunities for me or any career opportunities. And so I had come to a point in my life, to where I just thought that I was going to be a drug dealer the rest of my life. And I was going to be a drug addict for the rest of my life, however long or short that may be. And as badly as I wanted something different, I had continued. And then I got arrested after having a warrant and being on the run from drug court for a year. And this time I was ready for something different. I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know how to live clean anymore. I didn't know how to be a clean and sober person, or I had no idea on what to do, period, where I was going to start with a job, to live, nothing. And honestly, I thought I was going to go to prison and I didn't think I was going to have another opportunity with drug court, you know. And so I was ready to go to prison, and I believe it was Carol and Clint, my counselors with drug court, who came in and talked to me, and they told me that the judge at that time was going to give me her and the team were going to give me another opportunity for drug court, because like they say about drug court, you know, it's easy to get into drug court and it's hard to get out of. And they wanted to live up to that, and they gave me another opportunity. And so I was in jail for, you know, another 30 some odd days. And my PO came down and talked to me, and she said, we're going to let you out to a halfway house. And which is a huge help for me, you know. So I got out into a halfway house, and as nervous as I was and as scared as I was, I knew that I didn't want to go to prison. I knew I was on my last chance with drug court, because the judge had even told me that if it was up to her, I would already be going to prison. But the drug court team had talked to her and given me another chance, and that this would be my last chance. And so I knew that I wanted something different. I knew this was my last chance. Otherwise, I was going to be going to prison or dying, you know. And so this time I just jumped into drug court and did what was asked of me and took suggestions. Now I didn't always do what was asked of me in drug court, and I didn't always take suggestions. I did have a few hiccups throughout drug court, but I continued to show up. I continued to stay clean. I had one relapse about 6 months into drug court, and it wasn't with my drug of choice, but it was still a mind-altering substance that I'd used. And I did have that relapse, and then I had a few other hiccups. You know, I had struggled with criminality. Even though I was clean, I still struggled with my criminality. You know, I still had the criminal behaviors and criminal thoughts, and I was a pretty impulsive person, and you know, I reacted to those impulses and did them. And that was, you know, that's part of our addiction, and part of the addiction that we have to work through. You know, that criminal behavior. It's not just the drug that we have to deal with, but our criminal behavior. And I also struggled with wanting to sell drugs, you know, because it was easy money. You know, I could make way more money in one day. I could make more money in one day off of selling drugs than I would make in 2 weeks off, you know, off of working a job. And so I struggled with that too. But I reached out, and when I did struggle, I reached out to people, other peers in drug court, my PO. There was a couple times I reached out to my PO, and you know, like I reached out to her one time and said, "Listen, I'm wanting to go do this big drug deal that's going to make me a few $1,000s, and I know I shouldn't do it, but I want to do it." And she talked me through it, and I had a couple other people in drug court, you know, that they talked me through it, and you know, we went through what would happen, and just being able to open up to somebody and reach out to somebody and talk to them helped me with that, you know. And through drug court, I was also introduced to NA, Narcotics Anonymous. And between drug court and Narcotics Anonymous, I truly do believe that that's what saved my life. And Narcotics Anonymous is what keeps me clean today, because I did graduate drug court last September. I am still a part of drug court today. I'm a mentor in drug court. I have mentees that I help them walk through their path in drug court. I'm part of the activities that they have going on. You know, so I try to get back to drug court, and I go to meetings weekly. I go to a couple meetings a week for NA. And that's what, you know, what keeps me clean, is being able to give back what was given to me, you know, by helping other people in drug court and sharing my experience, strength, and hope in the rooms at NA, and showing up and, you know, like So I have a sponsor in NA, and I work in my 12 steps, and I also have sponsees that I get to help work through their steps too. You know, um, and that's where the big changes came for me in my life was through when I started working the 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous. Um, there was a lot of stuff I worked that I learned in drug court, but the big changes, the changes on the inside for me, um, the spirituality changes and stuff like that were through, when I started working my 12 steps in NA. And those are the changes that I wanted, the changes that I needed, because because my addiction came about because, I had abandonment issues as a child, and I never learned how to deal with my emotions as a child. And so I went on as an adult, not knowing how to deal with my emotions, and I didn't even know how to identify my emotions. I just turned everything into anger and fear is what I did with my emotions, and that's what led me to my addiction. And because I didn't know how to deal with those emotions or identify them, and through the tools that I learned in drug court and through working my steps, now I'm able to identify the emotions that I have. I'm able to sit with them and feel them, and I'm able to let them go, and work through them. And I sometimes I do that alone, and sometimes I have to reach out, to my sponsor or other people in drug court or other people in the rooms, and get the help that I need to work through it. But that's another big thing that I learned too is reaching out, that we don't have to do this alone. Because that was another issue that I had too, is I had to learn to be pretty independent from a kid, from a very young age, and take care of myself from a very young age. And so it was hard to ask for help. And it still is sometimes today hard to ask for help, but I just weigh out the options, because I know that if I don't reach out for help and get the help that I need, that what's going to happen is I'm going to go fall right back into my addiction. And I can't afford to do that today. I have an amazing family. I have a girlfriend and we have two wonderful kids together. She has two wonderful kids, and I have a baby on the way with her. And so I have a family to take care of, and a baby on the way, and hopefully, that baby never has to see me or Angel, my girlfriend, high ever. Through the power of my higher power, I hope that never has to happen. And I know that as long as I continue to go to meetings and give back and work my steps, that our little girl will never have to see us high. And I remember the day that I had gotten caught this last time when I went to jail. So right before I got arrested, I was at Walmart, and I seen my sister-in-law with my niece and nephew at the store. And when I went up to say hi to them, they started yelling "stranger danger," because they probably didn't recognize me, for one, because of how I looked, and because they never, because I never seen them. Because that was another thing in my addiction that I did, was I'd isolated from my family because I didn't want to bring my addiction around them. And so my brother and his wife and kids and my mom, I didn't go around them. I talked to them maybe once a year. And, that was a horrible feeling when I left Walmart that evening. My niece and nephew not even wanting to say hi to me because, they considered me a stranger. That was a horrible feeling. And, now I get to be a part of their life today. And, they don't say stranger danger. They're happy to see me. It's back to being Uncle Zack. I I get to be an inspiration to my family, and somebody that they look up to. And some of my family is still struggling with their addiction, And one of them, my brother, my older brother, I have to distance myself from him right now because he's not ready to get help. And I have to do what's safe for me and keep me safe. And so I have to distance myself from him. I have another sibling that my sister is struggling with her addiction, but I get to be there for her and hopefully help her through her recovery when she's ready to do this, you know. And it's thanks to NA and drug court that I get to do that today. That I get to be present and be a part of my family's life. You know, I get to be a part of my community, whereas before I wasn't. You know, the only thing I was doing in my community was tearing it up by selling drugs to people, you know, and furthering other people's addiction as well as my own. And now today I get to give back to my community and the people that are in my life. And I'm just super grateful for that, you know. I'm super grateful for drug court because they truly saved my life. And they also introduced me to NA, which is what's continuing to save my life today. And without that, who knows where I would be. So I'm just super grateful for that. And I'm super grateful for you guys asking me to be on here and let me be able to share my stories. So thank you guys very much.
Thanks again, Zach. Really appreciate you telling your full story for I think you said the first time, or at least
Yeah.
most of the relevant stories. So thanks again for that. We really appreciate that. Before I open it up for comments, how about is there anything? Certainly, drug court is a common theme in successful recoveries here in Grants Pass and Josephine County. So thank you for being a part of that, and thank you for continuing to be a part of that. Anything besides that and NA that helps keep you strong in recovery on a daily basis?
Yeah. So, you know, like I just make sure and do some self-care. Like I work out a few times a week, which makes me more physically healthy, spiritually healthy, mentally healthy. I make sure and take time to myself when I need it, you know, because if we just work ourselves into the ground and do stuff like that, you know, and then we're not taking care of ourselves, and it's easy to fall back into our addiction if we're not doing that. So and like my music for me is a huge one for me. I'm very fortunate at the job that I work at that I get to listen to music every day. And that keeps me in the right you know, the right mindset all day at work. I listen to reggae, so it's pretty spiritual for me too, you know. So just stuff like that.
Very good. Well, thanks again, Zach. I'll go ahead and open it up. We've got a handful of people on the line live with us this evening, so go ahead and unmute and have offer your comments or ask some questions if you feel led to do so. And everybody is muted, so go ahead and unmute yourself if you would like to make a comment. I know we have some talkers out there, so don't be shy.
All right, I'll do it. Zach, I just want to say that I'm incredibly proud of you. It's really, really amazing to be able to hear another person's story. I mean, we always spend time together in drug court, but it's really cool to kind of sit down and listen to your guys' stories and get to know you better. But I'm very, very proud of you for breaking a generational curse in your family and being the one that steps up to do that, because it's not the easiest thing to do, to be the chosen one. So with that, I'd like to ask you, what would you tell somebody that is struggling with another family member that is currently in their active addiction? Because it seems for a lot of us, we have family members that are in their addictions.
I guess for one, so like I said, when I was like 17, you know, I thought that I could make my family get clean. And I found out very quickly that that's not the case. And nobody's going to get ready or is going to get clean until they're ready to get clean. The only thing that we can do and that I'm doing right now, like with my sister, is I'm just letting her know that I love her and I care about her, and that I'm here for her. And when she's ready to do it, whatever she needs help with, that I'm here to help her. And I'll be there for her when she's ready to do it.
Thanks, Zach. Good job.
Thank you.
All right, I know we have some other talkers out there with us this evening.
Hey, Zach. I'm so proud of you. That was really cool hearing your story.
Thank you.
I had no idea that that's some of the struggles you faced and went through when you were a child. That's super young. I love it how you brought up Narcotics Anonymous, because, that's what's helped me so far in my recovery as well. I know there's that beginning. So what you already kind of mentioned, like what you do for, to be strong mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. You actually mentioned that while you're speaking, which was really cool. And then you also mentioned not being alone, right? Because I know as addicts, a lot of us think that what we're going through, that we're alone, and really we're not. There's actually quite a few people out there that have gone through the same thing we have. I just really appreciate you, and it's awesome to see where you're at today and how much you've accomplished and what you do all the time, every day, to give back to recovery and to the program that helped you save your life. I'm super proud of you, both you guys, you and Angel both. So I love you, and thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you. Love you too.
All right, any other questions or comments for Zach tonight? Well, if there are, feel free to pop up. I'll start. I'll just start wrapping up this evening. I'm not sure if Zach, are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, sorry. The screen actually may be a connection issue on my end. The screen froze.
I think it was because it looked like it froze up for a second.
Yeah. Archie, do you have a comment for Zach?
Yeah, I was going to ask Zach, one of the things that I've found with people that are being strong and basically surviving is a good routine, a good structure in terms of like a workout structure. And it sounds like you have not only a good workout structure, but you have a lot of, it sounds like music, which somebody once told me is soul food. It sounds like that's very, very important. Yeah. Can you comment on that a little bit?
Yeah. It's weird because my style of music has changed a lot since I've been in recovery. I used to listen to like a lot of rap music and stuff, and country, and about like a year and a half ago or so, a friend that I worked with was listening to reggae, and I don't know, there was just something about it that spoke to me. It was soothing to me. It got me in a way better headspace. It soothed my soul, and it just spoke to me. And I've been listening to it ever since. It just, I don't know. There's just something about it that I love that is just calming to me. It speaks to my soul, and it's just like a spiritual type of thing for me.
Thank you.
All right, any other comments out there? If there are, feel free to unmute yourself. I'm gonna just start wrapping up the Be Strong talk for tonight. If there are any other comments, feel free to jump in. But I wanted to let everybody know there's a few people on the line who have participated in some of these in the past and have been following our progress over the years as the nonprofit organization Grace Roots. I just wanted to let everybody know real quickly that I think that Grace Roots just had a big win in that in through our outreach efforts. We just signed a memorandum of understanding to participate in a big state grant program that involves some strategic planning for recovery services in Josephine County, in Grants Pass and Josephine County. So basically, we're bringing a bunch of treatment programs and stakeholders in the recovery space together to do a big strategic planning project, which we believe is going to lead to additional resources to fill some holes that we might have in the services that we need to help people get into recovery and stay in recovery, such as maybe residential treatment or a different level of service in outpatient treatment and our recovery programs. And there's a long list of things that we may identify through this project, but we are just over the next month, we're starting this big grant funded project. And we think it's going to be a great thing to help fill the gaps that may exist in our local recovery services. So wanted to let everybody know about that. If you hear anything about that, feel free to reach out to us. And if you hear an opportunity to participate in that, please, I would certainly encourage you to do that. But for now, we're still going to be pursuing after that grant project is done. We expect to still pursue the building of the Hope Home, which would be a place for pregnant young mothers with substance use disorder challenges to stay and be strong with their through their pregnancy. So we're still on track to pursue that, but it'll be very interesting to see what comes out of this big strategic planning project, because we're bringing as many of the local stakeholders together in the recovery space as we can. And so Josephine County and the drug court and a lot of the great local services that we have, we certainly hope will participate in this. So some good news for y'all this evening. If you hear about an opportunity to get involved in that, or if you want more information about that, just feel free to reach out to us. So we're going to also continue doing these monthly Be Strong talks. Likely we're going to continue as we have in 2020 and 2021, doing these on the second Thursday of each month. And you can check out past Be Strong recordings on our YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and type in Grace Roots Be Strong, or you can go to Facebook and type in Grace Roots Pathways to Wellness. So that's about it for this evening. Zack, thanks so much again for telling your story. You did a great job telling your full recovery story for the first time, and it's to all of our benefit that you did that. So thanks again, and have a good night, everyone.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys having me.
Thanks for letting us borrow Zack for a few minutes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Zach. We appreciate it.
Thank you guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Good night.